Hello, gentle viewers, and not so gentle viewers, especially you. We are going to start a new series, because we've done the quick questions for a while, and we had a few viewer questions, but mostly we were answering ourselves, and we came up with a new idea.
It's not that we're running out of ideas, it's that it's about time that we stopped talking in theory and started talking practice. So we're going to take a break for a minute, and this is going to be basically one of our normal 5-minute shorts. We're not breaking from the 5-minute format, but what we're going to do is we are going to be basically we're going to be taking several episodes to design an adventure from scratch for you guys to use.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth to do this design. Steve here is going to talk about the system. He's checking his notes right now. Or that's backwards. I'm going to talk about the system. Steve here is checking his notes. He's going to talk about the setting. He's going to set up the scene and say, this is what's going on. And then I am going to, in the next video, say, here is how you run this as a GM. Here is how you accomplish the objectives that were set up by the story. And we're going to do that back and forth in a 5 minutes every day segment. And we're going to try and design a whole adventure for you so that you can see step by step how it works.
Now, because we're doing this on the fly, I'm actually going to be very rude. You're going to see me looking away, you're going to see me looking down, you're going to be seeing me writing. This is because I'm designating myself the record keeper so that we don't forget what we've done before. We're going to be keeping notes of key NPCs, key traits, key scenes, and what's happened and where possible branch points are. Because, as with any good story, it'll look linear in the end, but if you're looking at the flow of possibilities, it could go any which way. And so we're going to try to cover, if not every possible branching scene, at least try to cover all possible major branches.
So that's one major principle of story design right there. The story as it happened in the past is a linear string of cause and effect, but the story as it unfolds in the GM's planning notebook is a wibbly-wobbly ball of timey-wimey stuff, to steal David Tennant's phrase.
/ begin soapbox, let's face it, if you really look at it, every story, no matter how sandboxy, is linear because players move in a line. So really, the whole linear versus non-linear is really more of a question of approach as opposed to execution, because when you look back at any story, there is a line of story. So
the trick is to be able to have multiple possible lines result from your planning. So speaking of writing things down, although Steve is going to be taking with pen and paper notes while we record this, we're also going to make those notes available to you by posting them online for our Patreon patrons.
Exactly.
So only patrons will get access to the notes. These videos, however, will be available to everybody on YouTube.
Don't worry, guys. Ian's going to edit my scribbling so that you can actually read it, because my notes are not going to look very nice.
But the information will all be there.
Yeah.
So, that's about it for the explanation, and in our next video, we will get started with the first scene.
By the way, we've got about a minute and a half left, so I'm going to pay a really brief story tax. Those of you who are interested in cyberpunk literature and cyberpunk role-playing games, the police in this system, this is something we've had talk over lunch about, and I feel is important enough to share. If you're looking for inspiration on how to portray police, you want to look in two ways. You want to look towards the Batman the Animated Series portrayal of police, where there's two types of police. There's the beat cops that are basically blue-suited scenery, and they exist for Batman to save. But there's also the detectives, like Bullock and Mendoza, who basically exist in Batman's world. And the two sides of cops never really meet, which is pretty awesome. Similarly, if you're looking at gaming inspiration, Cyberpunk 2020's police careers, there's a variety of them. They're all different. They all work together in their own ways, but it's not quite so simple as to say the police are totally corrupt, because every different department of police works in a slightly different way.
And the books Halting State and Rule 34 by Charles Stross deal with some cyberpunk police characters and are some of the best cyberpunk that's come out recently, so read them.
Yep.
We'll see you tomorrow with our first video on a scene of this adventure.